Ording, maybe, the tiki-taki. And there we have it. Welcome to How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn. Hi, Shawn.
Hi, Dave.
My Skype is making sure that I need to tell you that you're being recorded, Shawn.
Yeah, well, at least it's nice that it tells the person.
Yes, that is nice.
Just
now,
in case you're in a two-party state, you know.
I haven't done this in a little while. We do have kind of a sponsor tonight. Grape drinks.
No.
I just want to remind you that grape drinks exist and are delicious.
And none of them taste like actual grapes.
No, they don't. But
No.
if they do, they taste like red grapes or purple grapes or whatever. There's nothing out there that tastes like the green grapes.
There is no green grape soda, thank God.
Incidentally, there's also no apple candy that isn't sour apple.
This is true, yes?
You can't get Gala flavored apple candy, for example. Anyway, we've got a lot to go over. So I wanted to start off with something as soon as I figure out how to share my screen here. In the regards of the Me Too movement has been out of the news a little bit, right? It seems as if, right.
Hollywood doesn't care about women anymore. But for a short moment in time, man, they cared about sexual assault really hard.
Yes. It's a weird thing. And, you know, it had its flaws, but there is reason to raise awareness for the sexual problems of our society. We have sexual problems.
Yes.
And in this regard, I want to speak out a little bit about the unrealistic standards that we set on ourselves.
Okay.
Right? You and I have talked about how you need to be healthy. There's no reason to fat shame, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So let me get to the point. Yeah. If you haven't heard, and just react as soon as this pops up. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Yes. 2021 Sexiest Man Alive. Paul Rudd, if you didn't hear.
Okay.
Which I 100% agree with. However, in this article, he discusses standing next to Chris Hemsworth in Endgame. He was working out so hard, eating so perfect for so long. And then he stood next to Chris Hemsworth and thought, what was the point?
Yeah, well, he's probably not working out. He's not doing what Chris Hemsworth does. Also, that's a really good physique.
Dude's
Chris Hemsworth is stacking on muscle because that's the look he wants for, while Paul Rudd actually has more of a athletic physique.
Yes.
Yeah, good for him.
This is not exclusive to Paul Rudd, although congratulations, People's Sexiest Man 2021, because people still read that magazine.
People still read magazines, apparently. I don't.
Yeah, go figure. He wasn't the only one. Let's see if I can get this to pop up as well, real quick here. I have to remember how to do this. Oh, did this come up?
Sebastian Stan is intimidated by his Marvel co-star's hunky bods.
Right.
Yeah, but
my point is, men feel this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can also, again, I would love to look like that, but even when you're next to like Anthony Mackie, who's shorter than Sebastian Stan, but pulled it off in what was that, Pain and Gain with Mark Wahlberg? What was that stupid movie? Anyway, like, yeah, sometimes we beat ourselves up even when we look like that. Now, as I'm going through these, there was one male actor who managed to get past it. This is more for humorous purposes. Yeah. If you become malnourished, you don't have to worry about looking super stacked.
Did did he actually become malnourished for that scene, or just the lighting?
No, that's you know what that is? Actually, that's something called a joke, Sean. We tell
Oh,
those sometimes on this show.
I don't know. This is a man who wore blackface in a movie. I don't know how far he's willing to go.
That's fair. That's fair. Now I have to figure out how to stop. There we are. Okay, we'll get into a few other things. But it's hilarious to me that the sexiest man alive 2021, first off, is 52 years old.
Yeah,
Good
good
for
for
him,
you, Paul Rudd.
right?
Also, you deserve it because you got a great sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
You've
And
got the chops, homie.
still incredibly insecure.
Aren't we all in some way?
Yeah. Okay, so I got to talk to you. You and I were talking a little bit before the podcast started about being rat scab poor, right?
Yes.
Yes, we both enjoy that. Anyone,
Yes.
anyone who listens to this podcast to this point, feel free to donate.
I missed 3 days of work,
Yes.
and I honestly am scared for the rest of the month. That
Do
is
you
how
have?
close I do. I have my Avengers
Yes.
gauntlet still. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the damn boxer from Cinderella Man, but that's what I'm thinking about with you.
I don't know. I mean, I have adapted to it really well. I mean, honestly, the hardest part about this is, and this is going to sound stupid, you don't realize what certain things require certain movements.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling an electrical cord or rolling a hose is a nightmare. That's like the hardest part of this.
Well, that's what busted that originally, right?
No, it was an 11/16 inch cable, like a metal wound cable.
Sorry, I had my cords mixed up.
No, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, no. As I call her Jill the Ripper now.
Which is apt. But let me get to the point.
Get to the point.
So, as a result of my poorness, and thankfully, unthankfully, the class that I failed will allow me to work full time at the beginning of the year. But in the meantime, I still need to raise cash. So, I started selling my precious metals on eBay, which has started going well for me. But I'm like, wait a second. My buddy also sells a lot of stuff on eBay.
Yes.
Tips and tricks for the average feller to be able to sell stuff on eBay. And while you take a second to think about that, because I know I love blindsiding you on this show, what I'll say is I started off just by listing stuff, and I made the mistake of not looking closely at what eBay charges to eBay.
Uh-huh.
And on smaller items, it's substantial.
Yeah.
And I've since adjusted my prices, and I'm making money on my sales now. I take that back because I invested at smart times in precious metals. I was making money regardless, but now I'm making better money. Tips, Shawn, for anyone out there who wants to sell stuff on eBay, because you've done this for years.
Yeah, just have a very precise description, and it's a full description. Because what's funny is you'll go on eBay and you'll look at something that costs you $300, and then you scroll down to the description, and it's like typewriter works. And you're like, could you be a little more descriptive about what it is? And now, for you, precious metals, there's not much you can put in the description. It's all on the packaging for it.
Yes, and to be fair, that's true. However, I keep getting the weirdest question from people. So one of the things that I've had in stock that I can sell, yeah, just like those things. Okay, so that's a
It
little.
says right on it what it is.
Yeah. So I got really, and my stuff is selling. But the funny thing about that is, and those have been a popular product, by the way. Those have been what I've been selling the most of. But I'm also selling the 1/10 ounce bars, gold bars. And I keep getting the question, is that an ingot? Is it an ingot?
I guess it depends on what your definition of an ingot is.
And that's my answer every time, because the term ingot is relatively synonymous with the term bar. If you've got a big bar of gold, we're talking like a 100-ounce bar of gold. That's more likely to be a traditional ingot because a traditional ingot might have rounded corners. But I mean, any normal sized bar, it's like it's a bar and it's an ingot. What do you want? It's been very strange. So
Yeah. I mean, it literally ingot. The definition is a block of steel, gold, silver, or other metal, typically oblong in shape. So yeah,
I
sure.
forwarded that exact definition to a buyer who was questioning, and the response was, "Okay, but is it an ingot bar?" And I'm like,
It's
I
it's
can't. I can't. Hmm.
it's like saying, is it a pen writing utensil? Yeah.
It's
Yes.
redundant. It's like ATM machine.
Yes.
Okay,
Morons.
we will continue on with that, but thank heavens, I am making a little bit of
Hey,
money on
are you gonna
that.
play?
We have a guest. We have,
Momentarily, apparently.
well, that's excellent.
He's playing VR. Something I can't do. So
Well, I mean, there's got to be a way.
I could duct tape it to my hand.
I would love to see that. Okay. Were you aware of this? For those of you who might be listening as you drive along, I'm currently showing Shawn an article titled, "Is Courage the Cowardly Dog Based on a True Story?"
Hmm.
Have you heard about this?
No, I have not.
Okay. Are you familiar with Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Of course I am. He was a very definitive part of my upbringing.
Okay. So, you have, for anyone who's watching, you have the picture of Eustace and Muriel's house in the middle of nowhere. And you have the house in a town where, in the fun fact, if you can see that, there was an elderly couple living in New Mexico reporting seeing skinwalkers and other strange things. Apparently the old folks disappeared and only the dog was found. And this may be an ad for weird things. But no, this may be the origin story of Courage the Cowardly Dog. So, Shawn, in your best reading voice, would you pick up with the husband William?
The husband, William, was described as not the nicest person. The wife, Margaret, was described as warm, friendly, caring, and also petite. Yes, this sounds eerily familiar for those supposed cartoon counterparts. They also had a pet. They were last seen March 5th and 6th of 1957 after a neighbor brought over some Girl Scout cookies to them. The neighbor, Jerry Cash, felt unwelcomed and left soon after. She described Margaret as incredibly upset, and William wasn't happy with Jerry's presence in the house.
All right. Sounds very familiar. Right
Sounds
timeline.
sounds pretty homicide, suicide, murdery.
Very likely. Very likely. Which makes Courage of the Cowardly Dog even darker than it already was.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I guess it could be loosely based on this. I mean, SpongeBob SquarePants is based off of the Bikini Atoll atomic tests, so why couldn't this be true?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
All right.
Yes,
Kookier
I'm
theories
sure it was a skinwalker. I'm sure that's what it was.
must have been it. Kookier
Yeah.
theories explaining the Pattersons' disappearance also include government conspiracies, UFOs, alien abductions, and skinwalkers. Again, I take the last one back. The urban legend going around about a true story of courage links the missing couple to sightings of skinwalkers prior to their disappearance. I haven't been able to find the link between the Pattersons and the skinwalker sightings, at least not from a more legitimate news source. In 1984, the Pattersons' former caretaker, Reynaldo Nangeri, confessed to seeing and cleaning up blood in the garage and part of a scalp on the Pattersons' boat. He also claims to have seen an associate of the Pattersons putting a bloody sheet in the trunk of their car. The reasons why Reynaldo Nogueira didn't say anything early was because he feared deportation because he was undocumented. Okay. The caretaker would die in a car accident 2 years later.
All right, so it was a murder, and then he ran.
The best kids shows are based on horrifying true events.
Are they?
They are. And for those of you who aren't familiar, you want to run the intro here for everyone?
I mean, I can't hear it.
You can't. Well, then never mind.
Yeah.
This is a highly professional podcast.
Absolutely. Positively.
They getting down back there. For those of you who might be listening, Sean's son Keyshawn is just getting it.
What are you playing, bud?
Climb.
What?
I'm playing the climb.
Oh, the climb. Cool.
Yes.
All right.
It's a climbing simulator.
No, it's actually
Good.
just the climb too, not climbing simulator.
Sean, I want to get into a little car stuff. Something that you
Yes.
probably did hear about. Okay.
Okay.
AMG,
Yes.
SRT, SVT, M Series, heck, even Shelby. You know what I'm talking about, right?
The special vehicles divisions of all the major manufacturers. Yes.
Right.
Oh, there's a wolf.
There is also a
There's
wall.
a wolf.
There's a wall right
Oh,
there.
no.
A wolf.
A wolf.
Wolf.
Hey, Keith, clap the trap.
Yeah.
So, do you want to say something?
Keith,
Yeah.
you got to be quiet, love. We're recording. Thank you. All right, continue.
All right. Do you remember what the special racing moniker was for Mitsubishi before the Evo tag?
Rally art, right?
Nah, that was just kind of their thing. I mean, rally art was more of a style than anything, but you're right. VR4, that sound familiar?
The Mitsubishi GT3000 VR4 had all-wheel steering and was turbocharged, and my mom owned one, and that car was scary as hell.
It was. Thank you for mentioning that. The 3000 GT, when it came out, was the most technologically advanced car to date. It was the first car to have adaptive aerodynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Their only flaw was, by doing all of that, it was heavier than expected. And so, even though it was fast as stink, it did not brake as well as it should for a car that fast.
No, it stopped like a boulder rolling downhill.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a problem. To get to the point, however, did you know that AMG cheated on Mercedes?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Let me pull this up for you. So, the Gallant VR4 was the predecessor to the Evo. Quietly, it was actually an incredible rally car. And one of those beautiful cars that didn't look like it was as fast as it was. Interestingly, if you can see that now, right there.
Yeah, it's got a little AMG logo on the driver's side under the headlight.
Now, it turns out that there's only 500 of these made. If I could get my hands on one of these, it would be amazing. It had the Mitsubishi 2.0 four-cylinder engine was one of the best engines ever made. Tuned up by AMG, right?
Okay.
Surprisingly, though, only 168 horsepower out of that thing.
That doesn't surprise me for 1990.
Here's the thing. All right. AMG does great work, right, Sean?
Debatable.
Okay, good.
But sure.
You're saying if there's a flaw, because I've always had the feeling that AMG makes their their particular line of Mercedes as fast as Hitler would have loved. Because Mercedes was a Hitler company. Sorry, history.
AMG has a tendency to take a finely built machine
Uh-huh.
made by Mercedes and make it fast,
Mm-hmm.
but also make it drive like hot ass and cost too much money.
That's fair. Okay, that explains it. I can pull it up here if you need me to, but I don't think it's necessary. When Mitsubishi released the VR4 version of that, they got nearly 200 horsepower out of the same engine.
Right, because being tuned by and then rebuilt and remanufactured and done differently are two completely different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just because you're driving out there with a fancy tag doesn't mean that you're going to beat any Tom, Dick, or Harry out there. But in the annals of car history, this was interesting.
Wow. Somebody bought that car brand new
It must
and
have
had
been,
a smoking 168 horsepower.
again,
Now,
fast for the
this
time.
is 1990, correct?
Mhm.
All right.
I'd buy one if I had the cash to spare.
Yeah.
All right. Poor Sean ain't feeling well. You doing all right, Sean?
Yeah, oh, I'm fine.
Excellent.
I just started day drinking. It's like super early, so I've been real chill all day.
That's excellent.
Yeah, you got to pick one day off. Do something stupid. And for me, it's drinking white girl seltzers and fixing broken shoes because that's my life now. I don't know.
Who's broken his shoes?
My sole came off of my shoe yesterday at Costco. Like the entire adhesive sole, the part that's glued onto the bottom of the shoe,
Uh-huh.
came off.
I've had that happen with my issued boots before.
So I had to rubber cement them back together today. I'm sure I could have just thrown them away, but I have a love-hate relationship with these dumb shoes. They're warm. They're like a hiking boot made by Columbia. So I want to keep them functioning. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are burning through all of the stuff that I prepared. I came into this being like, this is going to be a barn burner of the episode, but because you are a lump on a log, I'm left with one last thing.
I'm not a lump on a log.
You're a lump on a log. I'm getting more entertainment from your son dancing like a damn fool back there.
I'm engaged.
No, you're married. Cut it out.
Dad jokes.
Speaking of, Sean,
Yeah.
everyone knows why 6 is afraid of 7, right?
I want to say is 7, 8, 9, but I don't know if you're going there.
That is correct. What most people don't know is that 4 saw everything, but was too squared to say anything.
Cute. That's a stretch, but I'll let it play.
Okay, now to the point. I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before because I don't take notes on my own show, but we were talking about the Rittenhouse trial going. And interestingly, if you didn't hear, the only charge that we saw potentially going all the way through, the misdemeanors, both dropped already.
Okay.
And now the jury is still deliberating on the felonies.
Which is this trial. Just watch clips of it.
Uh-huh.
Is just a parade of dumb people being asked questions and answering them like the dumb people they are.
Yes. Other podcasts have covered this ad nauseum, so it's not necessary to pick apart every damn thing. What's more interesting is that I talked to people who I assumed would be sympathetic to Kyle Rittenhouse in the regard that I've spoken to people who have also been multiple people who have also had raw deals from the criminal justice system. In watching this trial, it should never have gone to trial. The whole thing should have been dismissed.
This entire thing is an absolute joke.
It is, and yet there is a huge number of people out there who are so emotionally invested in this that they want to see something happen to Rittenhouse, even if there's no legal reason for it.
Right.
Which is not how the criminal justice system is supposed to work. You know, I have not been surprised at the lunacy of politics. And I've not been surprised whenever iffy court cases have gone, pardon me, one way or the other. I'm surprised that this one is getting dragged out as much as it is based on only emotional investment.
This trial should have taken 2 days.
It should have taken it if it ever went to trial at all.
It also shows you from the people who have been up on the stand that most of the people who were out on the street that night are some of the dumbest people that society has to offer.
Fact. Yes.
And we let them have guns.
Yeah. You had people getting up for the prosecution, accidentally making the case for the defense, because,
Yes.
like you say, dumb as a bag of hammers.
The defense not making a case for the defense.
It was interesting.
Pretty weak defense going.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Almost as if they're like not taking it seriously as I am not taking it seriously. They're like, why are we here?
Right. Thank you for that, because of course, you have, it is politically divisive. You have people on the left just tearing at the fact that he should be going to jail for something. You know, they're because the case has gone so badly against it. They pick, oh, he should have obeyed the police better, which he literally could not have done more to obey the. Oh, he shouldn't have crossed state lines. It was a 30-minute drive. The left is still trying to nitpick stuff, and the right is casting this kid as a saint, which he's not, but also high praise for his legal defense. No.
This is the problem with the right. The right believes that anytime somebody shoots somebody in a self-defense situation for any reason whatsoever, they are a true hero of American freedom.
No, he shouldn't have been there, right? He could not have done anything more to make these good shoots. There was literally nothing else he could do, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Right.
And again, and that's not grounds for punishing him for something, because a crime was not committed, period. However, the fact that the defense put him on the stand, that was weird.
Yeah, I guess if you were going for a cross-examination, then maybe, but why would you put your own client on the stand and risk having them say something incriminating?
Thank you.
Why
Thank you,
would
Shawn.
you do that?
If the kid wanted to air things out, call a press conference. Oh, the media will listen. Rest assured. And the judge justifiably was excoriating the prosecution for all of the behavior. And I was very surprised that the defense was like, let's go ahead. Not the prosecution calling him to the stand, but the defense calling him to the stand. The number one rule of being a lawyer is get your client to shut up and let you handle it. And they're like, here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand their plan at this point. I mean, so the jury is in deliberations at this point, right?
Yes.
So when are we supposedly going to have an answer on this?
All right. So part of this is rumors. We should have already had an answer. Period.
No,
Like you
agreed.
said. Right.
Yeah.
However many jurors there are in there, 6 or 12 or whatever's necessary in that state, they should have walked into the room and been like, you want to get pizza and just chill for a little while before we say not guilty, or do you want to like pretend like we're doing something to say not guilty?
Right.
But they didn't, which is interesting. The rumor is that there was an effort to film some of the jurors. Some of the intimidation might have gotten through. A couple of the jurors might be hanging out, and in that case, you might get a mistrial, or pardon me, a hung jury. But the mistrial filing is still proceeding. So it would also be really interesting to see what could happen if they come up with a guilty verdict, but later the ruling on the mistrial overturns that.
Also, to clarify, this is the state versus, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So the state
Mm-hmm.
is the quote-unquote victim.
Correct.
Okay.
Let's just verify to make sure.
All right. So we haven't even gotten into anything civil at this point.
No, and that will be interesting as well. Yeah, state versus Rittenhouse, of course,
Right.
is what they're calling it. And
So it's the district attorney's office
yes,
playing victim
yes,
and trying to prosecute on this.
yes.
So some district attorney somewhere decided that of all the fights he wanted to try to fight, this was one of them.
Right.
Good luck next year, buddy.
Anyone who wants to see, okay, let's go with the argument, if justice isn't done, burn this down. Okay?
Okay.
So if you're a DA and you're in this community and you're like, all right, fine, I will do everything I possibly can to get a conviction to try to mitigate the damage. Let's say you do get a conviction, which
That is the wrong, first of all, that's the wrong fucking approach.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But I'm going to run with what you're saying, but for already wrong.
In order to placate the mindset that I'm not in order to kind of go down the mindset that something has to happen to Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, great. So let's say the DA was of that same mindset. Something needs to happen. Go at this case full bore. Okay, don't agree with it, but let's say that's happening. They get a conviction, right?
Right.
What conviction would make people happy?
Once again, wrong approach.
Right. So let's say this kid gets
the
5
court of
years.
law is not in any way based off of the public's emotions at the time. It is based off of written law. And it never should have went to trial because the district attorney's office would have had investigators watching every piece of footage and doing interviews with every person who was a victim and every person who was involved. And they would have come back 6 months later and said, we don't have a case on anything except for possession of a firearm by a minor.
Which was dismissed.
And it never would have gone to trial. So
Correct.
The district attorney's office is not functioning on behalf of the written law.
Mm-hmm.
They're not following the law as it is written. They are following basically the court of public opinion, which should tell you that that system, at least there, is broken AF.
Uh-huh. But again, down the beaten trail, let's say you put off the riots by getting a guilty verdict. Let's say you go all the way to the sentencing and you get life in prison for this kid. Do you think there still won't be riots because he's not getting the death penalty?
No, there will still be people that are angry.
Right.
Right.
So do justice correctly. But it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. It shouldn't have been this long of a deliberation.
No, and if you're worried about riots, then when the riots happen, stamp it out like you're supposed to.
Yeah. Tear gas ain't so bad.
No.
For those of you who have watched this show, there's a clip at the intro on the channel of me walking out of a tear gas chamber and getting tased.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
This country has gotten so soft because it forgets what anything difficult is like. And then you let people destroy your stuff and riot and do whatever they want to do, and you don't punish them for it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't bother enforcing the laws that are written at that time. But then when somebody gets hurt, now we enforce laws that haven't been broken, but we enforce laws because the public thinks that some type of law has been violated, and it perpetuates this cycle of absolute stupidity.
Uh-huh.
So when the next shooting happens at the next riot after this, we'll just begin the whole cycle all over again, as opposed to hitting people with water cannons and tear gas like we should have done in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about some silver linings? I can see some silver linings from this. I can see a silver lining if he gets a guilty charge.
The silver lining is going to be that we are going to set a precedent regardless with this trial.
Right? Okay, to that point. Here's the silver lining. Because, again, everything's politicized. The right is coming at this saying that this has to be a not guilty charge, because this removes, if it's a guilty charge, it sets a precedence where no one can defend themselves. And that's true. That's true. If there's a guilty here, that makes it very, very difficult to justify defending yourself. Until the next very justified shooting happens of someone who needs to defend themselves, a mother, a single mother of 3 kids, or a minority actually defends themselves with a firearm.
Right. And then we use the precedent from this trial to try to prosecute them. And then there's public outrage because why would you ever do that?
Right. Now, that being said, that's the silver lining I could see from a guilty charge here. Because of the fact that the criminal justice system is constantly evolving, I can see that helping us get past this damn precedent system. So many court cases are decided based on previous court cases, and I actually strongly disagree with that. I think that each court case should be judged against the law on its own merit, regardless of what happened in previous court cases.
I very much agree.
So, in How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn, it's a little bit of hope for both sides. If you're on the left and you're saying this kid has got to be punished, first off, calm down. No. Secondly, we're in agreement. He shouldn't have been here. But if you don't get what you want, you don't have to burn things down, because it doesn't affect you if this kid is not guilty. It doesn't affect you.
Also, stop giving your kids fucking guns, you morons.
Or
Like,
a more appropriate firearm to the situation.
Right. Or like, I'm going to take my rifle and go defend a car dealership.
Right.
Maybe you should have been like, stay home, kiddo.
Okay. I like this point. Let me get to this point. Okay. Let's say that Kyle Rittenhouse was, instead of being a kid who shouldn't have been there, was the actual business owner. And let's say that business owner genuinely wanted to defend his business. There are, if you haven't seen it, maybe I'll try to pull it up while we're talking. During the Rodney King riots in LA, there were Korean business owners on tops of
Koreans, yeah.
Right. Let me just pull up an image of this. Yeah. Okay. This is a great one. Some people have probably seen this. Some people haven't. But this is, of course, a picture of some of these business owners on top of their business with their lights ready, their rifles ready to defend their business. Okay. So let's say it's a justifiable situation like that. It's your family business. It's going to deeply disrupt your life if things get burnt down. And you're like one of these people, right? Okay, you have a guy there holding a shotgun and another guy with a hunting rifle. That's probably much more on the roof, by the way, probably much more appropriate than being on the ground with a damn AR-15.
Yeah.
And I'm not making the case, by the way, not making the case to ban AR-15s because I like an AR-15. You put a person on top of a building with an AR-15, you get Nevada. Ugh. What was that? The Las Vegas shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, by the way. Go ahead and ban bump stocks. Nobody cares. If you're on the ground defending your business, you don't need that AR-15. You don't need some 18-year-old kid doing it. Get your head together. Everyone, get your heads together. Across
Yeah,
the board.
just don't do stupid shit.
Don't.
Or when you do stupid shit, be prepared to pay the price for doing stupid shit.
Right. And to be fair, Mr. Rittenhouse seemed to be prepared to go into court. His defense, though, I don't know what that attorney's doing. You should fire that guy.
I don't know. It's the same thing I tell my kids. I would suggest you pick your fights wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you think you're rolling into a fist fight and somebody stabs you to death.
This is another valid point. We talked about this before in the previous podcast in talking about a bad shoot and how you never know what the fight's going to be. Same goes for legal cases. Kyle Rittenhouse could go to prison, even though he did everything within the limits of the law. He could go to prison. A legal fight can go the way that you don't want it to go. But in that regard, Mr. Rittenhouse, if you decide to defend a business again during another riot later, don't think that the second time is going to be as easy as the first time in court.
Right.
The more you do stupid stuff, the harder it gets to get away with stupid stuff.
I don't know how it is where he is, but in the state of Nevada, if you're a security guard, you have a guard card and you have to go through a background check. And then if you're an armed security guard, you have to be endorsed by a company and take proper training and also have a background check in order to provide the function of securing a space.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why you just get to pick up a rifle and go play a fucking cop because you want to.
Right.
That's the astounding part to me. If you are defending your life or your property, I completely understand that. It's your life and your property.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you go off to defend your community,
Mm-hmm.
you enter a different realm where you don't belong. Sorry.
Now, I'm going to transition this a little bit in connection with that. Okay. So let's say that you are the person defending your property, right?
Yeah.
Don't go running off trying to put out fires elsewhere.
Yes. Defend your property.
The interesting thing about this is, and this is the transition, one of the guys shot was a literal predator.
Yes.
He was a child sex offender.
Like Chris Hansen, why don't you have a seat? Sex predator. Yes.
Yeah, like 5 different convictions.
Yes.
Okay. And I use that term predator because turns out that he did exactly what predators do and tried to pick off a weak target when it got separated from the herd.
Yeah. Didn't work out, did it?
We can't sit here and pick on Kyle Rittenhouse for doing dumb stuff and not also say, hey, that silly young man trying to put out the fire, he's got a loaded rifle. Leave him alone.
Pick your fights, kids. Like, did you think it was airsoft? Did you think it was for show? It's astounding to me.
Don't take a pot shot at a guy with a rifle.
No. Don't. When we were having our riots, was it last year?
Yes.
A gentleman approached our courthouse. Mm-hmm. He was turned away by Metro, or I think it was City of Las Vegas Marshal. We have like 800 law enforcement agencies here. He decides to walk down the street. He's wearing body armor. He approaches 3 police officers and makes the mistake of raising his weapon.
Oh, God.
This gentleman had an AR-15. These 3 cops all had pistols.
Mm-hmm.
These 3 were on extra duty. They spend all their time at the range as firearm instructors.
Okay.
All 3 of them beat him to bringing his weapon to ready. And all 3 of them hit him center mass and in the fucking face. This guy went down like a box of rocks, faster than he can get his weapon up. He picked the wrong fight. You would think a rifle wins in every instance.
It does not.
But 3 trained dudes who John Wick 40 hours a week are going to fucking kick your shit in. So, yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't have been there. The people who own this business, if they were that concerned, would have been there defending it. However, much like all the businesses there, they most likely carry insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So they know it is not worth their life to try to put out a dumpster fire.
Correct.
But if there is a young man with a fire extinguisher and an AR-15 trying to put out a fire, and you are armed with a skateboard, it is probably not in your best interest to pick that fight.
No. And biologically, it was interesting that apparently the shot to the one guy that survived also
Bicep
created.
dude?
He got gauge years. I don't know. Anyways.
No, he got hit in the bicep.
Right. He got hit in the bicep. I'm just describing the fella. What's interesting is that shot apparently reinforced the evidence that it was defensive. Apparently, because of the way that he was hit, he physically could not put his pistol down.
Really?
Apparently, it was like the bullet went through, it destroyed the musculature, and it caused the fist to clench, the muscles below it to clench, so he could not drop his pistol. So there wasn't even a way for him to be like, man, I wasn't armed, that's someone else's gun.
Wow, that's amazing.
Go figure, man.
2 for 3, Kyle. 2 for 3.
2 for 3. 2
Yeah.
for 3.
You let one live. That was your mistake.
Now,
I'm joking.
I'll give Kyle credit for I don't know if you saw the clip. Did you see the clip them talking about Call of Duty?
No.
Okay, it was great. And I actually brought this up with my son because every gamer needs to follow Kyle's example in efforts to try to smear him for whatever they could. The prosecutor asked him if he played Call of Duty. And he's like, yeah. And he plays with his friend. He's like, and that's a game where you use an AR-15 to shoot as many people as you possibly can, right? And his first response, he's like, I mean, it's a game where me and my friend work on objectives together. I'm not sure what you're asking. He says, you play that game and you run around with a rifle and kill as many people as you can. Is that correct? Best response, especially from such a young man, he incredulously looks at him and says, yeah, but that's a video game. It's not real life.
All right. Yeah.
That was so perfectly said. I made that point to Sam. I said, I've just told him a couple of things about this, just hilariously telling him not to go try to put out dumpster fires in the middle of a riot. And I cited that to him. If first off, if you're in court and someone is trying to bring up your video game habits to illustrate that you're a problem, that case is not going well for that person. And that is the textbook answer. It's a video game. It's not real life. Do you know the difference?
No, Mr. Cahill, we're looking at your Steam library. What is Kitty Meow Meow Undress Simulator? A Japanese cat girl. You have to complete objectives, and she removes her clothing. Do you feel that this has created violence within you? No, only sadness, Your Honor. Like, if you look at my Steam library right now, I would look like a serial killer. Like, do you have any idea what kind of games are on Steam? There's game. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Mr. Cahill, why do you want to work at Chuck E. Cheese? Got 800 hours and 5 Nights at Freddy's, and I think I'd be really good at dealing with the animatronic characters when they come alive at night. Like, why would you try to use a video game at all in a trial? It makes... Unless the video game is shooting people lighting dumpsters on fire simulator, there's probably not a whole lot of tie-in.
No. The
Or
market
Tony
share for that
Hawk's
game-
pro skateboarder shot in the bicep 5. There's no good... No.
There have been a lot of wonderful memes come out as a result of this.
One of the best ones I've seen is the screen grab of just the skateboard and the guy's leg, and it says, "For sale, barely used skateboard, can no longer ride."
Okay, this was my favorite one. This is fake. For anyone who doesn't know that the Babylon Bee is fake, this is fake. When you see it, just read out the headline, please.
Kyle Rittenhouse asked to step outside and defend the courthouse while verdict is being read. You know, the kid knows how to put rounds on target. Like,
He sure does.
you cannot deny that fact. Like, he did with a rifle what you're supposed to do with a rifle. He shot the people he was trying to shoot and didn't accidentally shoot anybody else or himself. Meanwhile, Alec Baldwin apparently can't help but accidentally shoot people. So,
Correct.
I bet you Kyle Rittenhouse knew there was a round in his chamber. He knew it was live.
Yes, he did. By the way, just as a matter of correction, we talked about before that he had a jam that he was able to clear. Apparently, a jam never really did happen, which is only relevant to bring up A, for accuracy, pun intentional, but also B, the defense brought up that this was interesting. The prosecution brought up that he had to charge his rifle, which it turns out he didn't, in trying to illustrate that he was trying to kill people. It doesn't change the fact that he was under attack. Whether or not you have to clear a jam while you're under attack is irrelevant to trying to not die.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No. I just want to bring something else up.
Yes.
If Call of Duty had anything to do with it, there would have been like 15 magazines laying all over this area with 29 rounds in them. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Because every time he shot, he would have reloaded.
He fired 4 shots at the original guy, so he would have dropped a magazine there, thrown another one in.
So there would have been one with 26 rounds in it. There would have been one with 29 rounds in it. Yeah. If he was really doing what you do in Call of Duty.
And that, Shawn, if I didn't tell you, that's for real. I told you I did that kind of thing in basic training, didn't I?
Like reload every time you shot?
Okay, kind of. Do you remember the bounding drills we used to do with like live ammo where we'd have to cover each other?
Yeah.
Okay, really good training. I really like that drill, right? And so you remember that it would be 2-person teams, 4 moving along total, right? And you'd have to offset your reloading with your buddy, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, so my buddy would reload, and I would reload like soon after him with like 5 bullets left in the magazine, right? Just planning ahead. And what was funny was we get through to the end, and the drill sergeant's like, "Sutherland, why were you reloading those magazines before they went completely black?" I was like, "Drill sergeant, I didn't want to be completely out of ammo." He was like, because it wasn't the worst answer he'd ever heard.
It's not the best answer, but it's not the worst answer.
Right.
Because
you
if
want to be
I
smoked, but-
am doing bounding maneuvers with my buddy
Uh-huh.
and I run out of ammo and I ask you to toss me a mag and that fucker's got 4 rounds in it, as soon as the firefight's over, I'm butt stroking you to the face.
But it's
You-
better than
You
zero.
piece of garbage. It's not a Mosin Nagant. This isn't World War One. I'm not trying to feed from a 5-round internal box magazine. You're gonna throw me a stripper clip? You can kiss my ass.
Oh, why did we get to the good stuff right before the end?
I don't
Okay.
know.
To summarize this episode, don't do stupid things.
Don't do stupid things.
Don't do stupid things.
Don't do stupid things.
Don't be too far right or too left.
No, be right in the middle. Maybe a little bit to the left.
Yeah.
That way, when you cross your legs, it doesn't get stuck.
Or a little bit to the right.
Yeah. I mean, sure. If you're weird.
If you guys haven't figured it out, that's part of what makes Shawn and I such great friends. He is a little bit to the left. I am a little bit to the right. We're both rational people. That allows us to cover a lot of good ground. Value friendships with people. This is a big one. Value friendships with people that you can have rational disagreements with. If you disagree with someone, don't get all wound up about it. Don't go riding because you disagree with someone. It's okay.
Yeah. Don't just go. No. Stay home.
Yes. I would
Fix your
challenge
shoes.
people to find and foster friends with people who disagree wherever possible.
Sometimes you got to reach across the aisle.
Uh-huh. And I hope you heal faster, Shawn. But
I think it's going pretty well.
yeah.
If I could stop getting it wet accidentally,
Stop
I'd be
spitting
really
in it.
happy. Yeah, it's like when I've gotten it wet twice now from like I forget I'm wearing a cast and I'm like spraying down something with a hose and holding it and I'm like, no, well, okay.
Yeah, stop that. Okay. It is time to go. Shawn,
Okay.
thank you for taking the time, homie.
Oh, no problem, always.
Go pee. I know you need to go pee.
Yeah, I'm doing my
Tiny
pee-pee dance.
bladder.
Pee-pee dance!
Bye.
Bye.